On this episode of Cape Media News, seal bites causing concern in Chatham, Harwich revamps the waterfront at Saquatucket Harbor, and Barnstable prepares for disaster. These stories and more. This is Cape Media News. This is Cape Media News, your local authentic newscast for Cape Cod. I'm Sarah Colvin. Thank you for tuning in. We start today in the town of Chatham. On Wednesday, the Chatham Police Department responded to the Chatham Municipal Fish Pier following a report of an overturned boat. The Chatham Harbor Master's Office and crews from U.S. Coast Guard Station Chatham responded to the area as well. They discovered the body of an adult male floating in the water. That body has been identified as 44-year-old Louis Garcina of Newburyport, an engineer who was the founder and chief technology officer of High Res Biosolutions in Beverly, according to the Cape Cod Chronicle. It is believed Garcina drowned near Chatham Harbor. No foul play is suspected. The town of Barnstable is now better prepared for disaster following a large-scale drill held earlier this month at the airport and on Lewis Bay. Hyannis is the hub of Cape Cod with a busy airport, active harbor, and thousands of residents and visitors. That's why it's important for public safety officials to be prepared in case disaster strikes. Every 3 years, a large-scale disaster drill is staged.
A full-scale disaster drill tested public safety procedures at Barnstable Municipal Airport and Lewis Bay in an effort to assess the airport's emergency response plan.
The purpose of the drill is to drill our team and to evaluate our team on their initial response to a potential aircraft accident or incident. As you know, we have JetBlue at the airport, we have Cape Air, we have Retrix Shuttle, we have a lot of also corporate flights that are flying in and out of the airport. Because of that, we have special certification under the Federal Aviation Administration. They require that the airport practice emergency response and emergency drills and response times by our staff who is put in charge of making sure that we follow through to the letter on our certification for the FAA.
The disaster drills planning team organizes a plan of action among a wide range of first responders, including the Barnstable Fire Department, U.S. Coast Guard, Red Cross, local police, and Cape Cod and Falmouth hospitals.
We drill on different aspects of that plan, whether it be a potential bomb threat at the airport or an accident that occurs at the airport or a rescue that has to occur in the water because of a downed aircraft. Those are all elements of our plan, and what we do is every 3 years we practice a particular element of that plan to say what went right, what went wrong, how did our team respond, what needs to change.
For the Hyannis Fire Department, the drill provides a useful opportunity to test its Homeland Security Mass Casualty Plan.
To some extent, running an exercise is much like running an incident. So just from the very beginning of it, we already gained stuff. And then from the exercise standpoint, we'll ensure that we have the appropriate tools and equipment. We'll ensure that we have the right training. We'll ensure that we can adequately implement the mass casualty plan. That's a statutory requirement for us, so it's an opportunity to actually implement it and make sure that we can do it effectively. And if not, we'll develop a plan of correction and work on that.
The safety drill identifies protocols and procedures that need improvement and helps fine-tune communication between departments.
What we've seen recently at some exercises are really gaining what's called shared situational awareness, or having a common operating picture. And that's something that we're trying to leverage technology in the bigger picture and see if we can ensure that, you know, Katie and her staff knows what my staff and I know. So communication is always a key for us.
When you have a drill of this size, you have many different agencies that are responding to such a drill. So when that happens, you have a number of different people that are on their different forms of communication. So it always is something that we need to work on. As part of this drill, we've identified the frequencies that we would be using with the outside agencies. We've identified, an incident command system that we will be using, so that there are leaders for each agency that are part of that incident command system, so that when there are things that are needed to respond to an incident such as this, there are resources that are needed, you have that incident command that you can go to those head agencies and you say, these are the items that I need to help me with this particular incident.
The drill was held Wednesday, September 5th in Hyannis and will happen again in 2021. For Cape Media News, I'm Gabrielle Rawson.
Coming up next, a close encounter with seals at Chatham's Riders Cove.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. This guy, no, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Visitors to Chatham's beautiful Riders Cove recently had some close encounters with seals, a little too close for comfort. We headed down to the harbor to learn more.
A series of seal bites have caused concern in Chatham at popular boat landing Riders Cove. Coastal Resource Director Ted Keon is working with the town to prevent further altercations with the protected species.
We've had seals that have really taken in residence inside Riders Cove. Hundreds of seals, thousands of seals, frankly, are offshore and inside the shoals and harbors just inside the barrier beach and the inlet. A few seals, probably 3 or 4, seem to like it in here, and we believe that partially the reason is they come in and the fishing boats will get rid of bait or throw fillets in the water and it becomes a free meal. It allows those seals to get very accustomed to coming in and becoming somewhat less concerned about human interaction, and now they're actually coming closer and closer to people, and we've had 2 documented, I believe actually 3 documented bites, not serious fortunately as far as the level of the bite, but a seal bite is still very concerning.
Seal bites can cause a myriad of problems, including cellulitis, joint inflammation, and swelling of the bone marrow. Without antibiotics, seal finger can even lead to amputation.
The mouths of seals have a lot of bacteria in them, and it's something that is well known, easily treatable, presumably if you get the right, response with antibiotics. But if you don't deal with it, you can get what's referred to as seal finger. In the old days, when sealing and hunting of seals and pelts was much more common, if you got a case of it, a bad case, it actually could be amputation of the fingers and hands and whatever it is.
To encourage public safety, the town has responded by adding signs.
We have started a much more public awareness campaign. We've put up signs recently about do not feed the seals. Don't place hands and other body parts in the water because you may get bit. So hopefully that will start to go out into the public and get some education going and really remove what we believe has been the primary attraction, which is throwing stuff to watch the cute seal, eat it. Because these are very large animals. They have very, very sharp teeth.
The town wants to remind offshore fishermen to dump their fish waste offshore and not in the harbor where it might attract unwanted seal interactions.
We don't know if it's sort of an activity associated with this particular seal only, and that the other seals have no interest. What we sure don't want, again, is to have people throwing food so that all the seals start having the same behavior.
When it comes to seals, look, but don't touch. For Cape Media News, I'm Gabrielle Rawson.
And Chatham's Natural Resources staff will continue to monitor the seal population. Now we move from the sea to the land as the Cape Cod Rabies Task Force and the U.S. Department of Agriculture prepare for another round of rabies baiting. It's designed to vaccinate raccoons and other wildlife against the deadly disease. Another round of rabies baiting begins this week. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is filling bait stations in several towns on and off Cape in an effort to vaccinate wildlife and keep Cape Cod free of the deadly disease. Thousands of fishy treats containing rabies vaccine are ready for placement in bait stations in several local towns, including Barnstable, Falmouth, Sandwich, and Bourne.
These are what we call the fish meal polymer block baits. The greenish, brownish material on the outside, it's a fish meal polymer, and it's very strong and fishy, and it attracts wildlife to them. When an animal encounters one and is interested in consuming it, they'll bite through the fish meal and puncture the plastic sachet that's on the inside. Spraying the the vaccine onto their gums and becoming vaccinated in that matter.
The program began more than 2 decades ago after rabies was first detected on Cape Cod.
The Cape Cod rabies program was initiated in 1994 in efforts to keep raccoon rabies off of Cape Cod. Unfortunately, despite our best efforts, in 2004, rabies was discovered south of the canal in Bourne. Despite our trap, vaccinate, release efforts and putting these baits out, it spread to Provincetown by 2006. Since then, we've been strategically moving the barrier back towards the canal, and we have not had a documented case of raccoon variant rabies on the Cape in over 5 years.
And that work continues. The fall round of baiting is now underway.
We'll be filling bait stations in downtown Plymouth, Buzzards Bay, and Onset. And then the following week, we'll be filling bait stations south of the canal from Woods Hole through Exit 5 in Barnstable. The bait stations are generally located in areas of corridors where raccoons and other rabies vectors are likely to travel, in culverts, wetlands, conservation lands that neighborhoods surround.
Hand baiting will begin on Cape Cod in early October.
Utilizing the coated sachet bait format, it looks like a small ketchup packet, and it works in the same manner. It just doesn't have the thick fish meal coating on the outside.
The baits are not harmful to domestic animals, but you are asked to keep your pets away.
The baits, they're not harmful to your pets, though we have seen if your pet were to consume more than just a couple of the baits, they may get an upset stomach from the richness and the fattiness of the fish meal attractant on the outside. The areas where we conduct the hand baiting are the areas where you're more likely to come across these baits. Please keep your pets on leash for about a month or so. Obey your local leash laws.
And if you happen to find one of those baits, it's easy to figure out what to do.
Just use precaution, wash your hands with soap and hot water, and either discard of the bait into the woods or in your trash. Every bait has a 1-800 number that is stamped on it that you can call to report that you found a bait, or if you have any concerns about the health and safety of yourself or your pet.
And the USDA is keeping track of whether the program is working.
Follow up each baiting season with live trapping, where we take some blood samples and we're able to see what the vaccination rates are from the latest oral rabies vaccine campaign. We are involved in an extensive enhanced surveillance network where we pick up and test every deceased animal that we can get our hands on, whether it's roadkills or animals that are found deceased in people's backyards, or animals that are acting strange that would not have gone to the state lab for testing because they were not involved in some sort of exposure event.
Here on Cape Cod, bait stations will be filled in early October, and hand baiting will take place toward the middle of the month. Again, keep an eye out for marked vehicles and keep your pets away from the baits. For Cape Media News, I'm Sarah Colvin. And again, while those baits are not harmful to your pets, they are meant for wildlife. You're encouraged to keep your animals away from the baits. Up next, we'll take a look at upgrades to Saquatucket Harbor in Harwich.
Na 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 na, I love you so. I love you, I love you. La 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 la, la 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 la.
We're here.
Yay!
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
Harwich's picturesque Saquatucket Harbor is undergoing a major renovation. Gabrielle Rawson visited the waterfront to give us a look at the upgrades.
Rising sea levels, unsafe docks, and ADA regulations. The town of Harwich has addressed public safety concerns with its newly remodeled waterfront at Saquatucket Harbor.
We totally redid the dock system, pulled all the old docks out, dredged the harbor, took out about 18,500 cubic yards of material, and then we put in a brand new dock system. Our main walkways are concrete floating docks, and coming off the mains are tropical hardwood timber. Finger piers. We added about 11 slips, and we made the entire marina handicap accessible.
We've kind of addressed multiple levels here. We've addressed, ADA issues in town. We've addressed flood zone issues. And, overall, we've also made a huge improvement to the infrastructure of Harwich. This is something that has addressed sea level rise, We've come out of the velocity zone. We're still in the flood zone, but still it's a huge improvement. And I think many towns are seeing the issues that the rising sea levels are bringing, and we're addressing it head on.
In addition to being beautiful and functional, the waterfront now features space for a snack shack, artist shanties, and additional slips. But finding funding for this multi-million-dollar project wasn't easy.
As a town, we were looking at a big ticket item in terms of our infrastructure improvement, and the project came in higher than we all wanted to see it, it took some reworking and some value engineering. There were some who were opposed to the idea of the expenditure of those types of funds, but I think we got around that, and I think as a community we were able to convey how much people did want to be able to come to this harbor, which is really the only harbor in town that everybody can access. A lot of people who are not boaters are able to come here still and enjoy the scenery, to enjoy a bite to eat, and enjoy the beautiful vista that we have here in town that really belongs to the taxpayers.
Officials believe the harbor upgrades will generate new revenue for the town.
In all honesty, I don't think we could have done something better, really, to try to bring more business and more support to Harwich Port.
We're a real diverse marina, so obviously we have recreational boaters here, but we also have a commercial fishing fleet that operates out of here year-round. We have a charter commercial fleet, and we also have 4 large passenger boats, one of which is the Island Ferry. So, from that perspective, it's huge, and also from a recreational standpoint, not only is the marina improved, but the land side, as you see, is greatly improved, and we did that really to make it more open to the general public, to the non-boater, to come in and enjoy Saquatucket Harbor, the beauty that we have here.
Saquatucket Harbor is now open for business. The town will seek additional funding in the coming months to build a sidewalk that would connect the waterfront to downtown. For Cape Media News, I'm Gabrielle Rawson.
And that's it for today's show. Next week on Cape Media News, we celebrate Emergency Preparedness Month. We get the scoop on the upcoming cranberry harvest. Our Community Impact Series takes a look at criminal justice, and we'll get an inside look at the Cape Cod Roller Derby. Cape Media News is your source for local, authentic Cape Cod news. Check us out online at capemedia.org and follow us on Facebook. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next Friday at 5:30. For Cape Media News, I'm Sarah Colvin.